Fletchinger. No Blair.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah. It's just been so weird the way it's worked out. Like, it's never like this. It's usually we get like football Saturday.
Yeah.
But like this, man, we get like football
They're just plugging us in wherever they can for TV.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, just weird.
What's up,
Next
bro?
week's Thursday again.
Dude.
Only
Dude.
Dude.
I already told my husband, I said, we're going tonight. You are going to work tomorrow.
You staying today or all day?
No. He's like,
She has a passion for the school advisory council that not many have.
So I'm like, we're gonna be off on Monday. That's long enough for you.
All right, let's just see.
Hour
Will
there.
Yeah.
Here's up here.
Yeah, listen, it's crazy.
Oh, it's Lauren.
No comments though. Everybody,
I said,
320
here's a
views, 14 likes, translated by 27 parents.
Yeah.
Morning.
Hi.
Man, I'll have you know that I wore my Endeavor zip-up hoodie quite a bit this week over break.
Fantastic.
I love
Glad to
it.
hear it.
Is Adi out there in the hallway?
I didn't see her.
Morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Hi, sauce.
Big news in the state of Michigan. Yeah, there's a walleye fishing tournament scandal right now. These guys have won $3 million on walleye fishing tournaments, and they were stuffing their fish full of like lead sinkers.
I like that to up the weight. Huh?
Yeah,
Unload the U-Haul.
That's like the Jamaican bobsled team putting bricks in the front of their
those are all allegations, right?
bobsled, man. Can't do it. Can't do that.
What's up, Mr. Bench? How are you?
For about an hour or so.
Talk to John Candy.
John,
I have a book about him.
you died too young.
It's the best. Look.
Me and my brother, we're gonna unload that
Well,
U-Haul for sure, 'cause
I'm gonna get Zadi, and then we're gonna get started.
he's got a-
Well, you know what? We're gonna have to have
Laura. Yeah. We're gonna. Word. Let's go. Because my brother's only there till noon, and my dad can't do anything. Right. So me and my brother are gonna lift everything out. Mom leaves some lighter bins.
Okay. I'll come help.
Car ride. My car.
Where's it at?
It's off OBT and just past Salmon. It's hidden just past like the mall area. I just realized I don't have any bags. I'll go to the house. I'll grab some garbage bags.
Yeah,
Like reusable, but it's like public space.
because Fletchinger is not here. Can you take some notes for us? Zuba's gonna send you a link with the template. All right, I'm gonna get Miss Gote. We're gonna get started.
How's our class is going? Pretty good. Yeah. What do you guys got going on right now? What do you?
Your cats were killing me.
How
Oh
many
my
guys
God.
have-
Just two.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was dying. Big old wide eyes.
I was trying to, I met with the kid, you know, I
No.
did a conversation with the kids, and
It is good.
trying to make sure everybody was okay.
Yeah.
Where's your Eugene at?
We're good.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Just making sure it's up the road from our house.
ESOL class.
We
It's up the road.
So it's just a lot, like.
Drive it up.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a lot more done yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, FEMA
It's
adjuster
good,
came
like,
back,
more like,
Good.
so he
More
called around 4.
actual stuff they have you do, like the better
So that's
off.
when I was literally like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how these work.
perfect,
Yeah.
I can't function right now.
Exactly.
He called
Yeah,
me,
because like,
he goes, and I didn't want to
I was
post
talking
it
to
because
my
I was
wife
like,
the
you
other
guys
day
are
about,
scheduled
um,
for today,
I don't
or
know what we were
morning,
talking
I was
about.
like, today.
Like, we
Now.
had
I was like, we're here.
one of the classes
What's
that I
that?
was going to take is like
It's
school law.
6:30, which
And
apparently me, yeah,
something came up.
last week is
We were
when
thinking about that. and I
they
was
were
like,
at 6.
you know what? It's one of those things where like you don't constantly
They
like
were
practice it,
later
and you're
for
not in it, and you just forget it.
Yeah.
And then it's
It'll bite you
yeah,
in the end.
yeah. You gotta constantly stay in it, otherwise it's like,
Yeah.
you don't use it,
Yeah, definitely.
You see anything good?
It's good though. I love, like, I
He's
did
like it
my,
gets wet on the inside,
my
so,
actual
showing in, the laser won't work, but it's like,
through you out.
look around.
Yeah, through there last
I see that
year.
water
Did you
pipe
hear
right there.
Zari? She just said on the radio she'll be 1 minute.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's fantastic.
It looks
their
like- I'm like, you
program
don't
is,
say.
He goes, I see the water
So
line,
yeah,
I know,
I
he's
know
like
that.
to that entire
like,
house.
your costs are
So he
probably
said
Two.
7 to 10 businesses.
Yeah,
should be running.
right now I have,
Awesome.
Water mitigation, Serpo contacted me
Is the guy?
yesterday, they said,
Okay.
sorry, we've been swamped with
Obviously.
calls. I was like, I
Is that a
know.
pun?
I said the pun, I was like, I know that you've been a little flooded with an influx. That's been my joke ever since the day I found out water mitigation was the thing that you had to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Face to face.
So,
Surprise.
As much as it can be.
You know, I appreciate it, for sure.
You
We
can
have
cover all that?
1,
We
2,
do like,
3.
ours would always
four,
be one
5,
face-to-face
6.
and one online every.
We need 2 more.
And our face-to-faces would always meet on like Wednesdays.
But as soon as
So like.
we're just gonna get started. We're gonna get started because people who are on time, appreciate you.
For sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
So because we do not officially have quorum, I'm not gonna motion to start the meeting. We're just gonna get started. So this is our September meeting that was rescheduled due to unforeseen circumstances. So appreciate you guys being here. I know that it's a little inconvenient that we're gonna have two meetings in the month of October, but this is technically our September meeting. So thank you guys for coming. I know that we have a couple people who are still coming in. They let me know they're gonna be a couple minutes late. Let's just get rolling. So we're not going to call it to order, and we're not going to approve the minutes from the previous meeting because our scribe is our secretary is one of the individuals who's on their way. So we're going to jump in. I just have a couple things I want to talk to the team about, and then we'll make sure that is there anybody online?
We've got Christina Alvarez, mother of Armando and Maria Jimenez online.
All right, welcome. So we're just gonna run through a little bit of our data from last year and kind of some goals that we have this year, and we will talk about fast testing just a little bit, and then we'll move on. And then Ms. Torres has some very awesome, amazing things that she wants to share with us. All right, so up here, this is a graphic that we created here internally. It's something that we've had since I've started here in 1819. 1920 was my first year. So as you take a look at this really quick, it's pretty self-explanatory. The staff that have seen this already. So our data is represented in the green column. So we get scored in, and I've talked to you guys about this before, we get scored in 7, well, up until this year, we were scored in 7 areas, right? So you'll see that we get scored in proficiency and ELA, and it's ELA because it's reading in 3rd grade, and then 4th and 5th grade, it's reading and writing. It's a composite score. So we have ELA proficiency, we have math proficiency, and then overall science proficiency. So that's 3. And then ELA learning gains. So it'd be our 4th and 5th graders, because anybody who has prior year data, right? So a 4th and 5th grader, if they took the test in 3rd, 4th grade, they would have prior year data. So did they grow from the year before? All right. So this is component number 4, component number 5, because it's the same thing in math. All right. And then we have students who are identified academically in our lowest 25 in each content area in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It would just be 4th and 5th grade based on prior year data. And did they grow? All right. So all 7 components come together, and they give us our composite score of the school. This year, we talked about this the other day on our first meeting, that we were a 61, and in the state of Florida, to be an A, you need to be a 62. We were actually like a 61.4. So we were so close to rounding up to a 62, and it still burns at me, but it's okay, because I think the really important part is that if you look at the change column on each area, we actually grew in every area from 21-22, which, I mean, that's definitely something for us to hang our hat on. Last year, we talked about the school improvement plan in our last meeting, and we knew that we had a heavy ELA focus, and it shows. We grew our focus on our bottom 25. We had an intensive intervention process for our students who struggled in reading, and we saw growth, learning gains of 13, and our bottom 25 of 8. Math is obviously a concern, and that's why we've shifted our focus, not to forget ELA, but also to incorporate some of the things that we did last year with ELA, to incorporate those with math, so we can see this type of growth in math as well. Science, we scored a 66. Our goal is 75 last year. And man, listen, I thought we were going to hit it, and we were. I'm sorry. Our goal last year was 75. It was 75. So we ended up at 66. Yeah. So listen, we definitely fell short in a couple areas, but we grew in every component. So a lot of things to be happy about. Listen, we take a lot of pride in being an A-rated school, and the fact that we're not. It's a struggle, but it's an amazing school, and we have amazing teachers and amazing kids. And still coming out of a pandemic, I think that we're doing an amazing job. So what you see then in this last column is our target for this year. All right, our areas of growth. Now, the reason that you see proficiency highlighted is because this year is going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about fast testing really quick. Is that we won't have learning gains this year because what was FSA, all right, was our state test, is now the FAST test, right, which is the Florida Assessment of Student Thinking. So because we won't have prior year data, we won't have learning gains this year. We're just going to have proficiency. So we'll just have proficiency in ELA, proficiency in math, and proficiency in science. So we were scored in 7 components last time. We're only going to be scored in 3 components this year. It's a big shift, right? It's a different test, different format. All right, we've had paper-based testing up until now. Now it's all going to be computer-based testing. All right, it's a big shift. Science is still going to be paper pencil. That's right. Because the science test did not change. This is pretty much the constant at this point. All right. So proficiency, and then one little thing I'm going to throw in there because most people know this, but I want to make sure everybody knows, is that when the test changed, they changed the writing test too. So the writing test, which historically has been a handwritten test, is now going to be typed. But because it's a new test, they're piloting it this year. Actually, I think the term they use is field testing it. So they're going to, what my understanding is, and we get different messages all the time, is that 4th and 5th graders will take a writing field test, but it won't be scored. So really when I say ELA, it's really just reading proficiency this year. So it's reading proficiency, math proficiency, and science proficiency. So it's a big shift. All right. Do we have any questions on this? Mr. Brent, you have any questions on this? It's a lot of information.
The new testing, that's going to be ongoing throughout the year, right?
Perfect. Yeah. So
have first gains from the beginning to the end of the year, right?
Right. So, Torres, do you want to hit there really isn't much on the next slide, but so that was going to be our next thing, right? It's just about fast testing. There's nothing else there. I didn't really know what to put. So
It was just easier to talk about than to show.
yeah. So fast testing, right? So it's a different format. So last year with FSA, it was a cumulative test at the end of the year, right? So it was math and ELA, and then the science SSA. The FAST is going to be done more like iReady has been done in the past, right? So we did a beginning of the year diagnostic and iReady, a middle of the year diagnostic, and then the end of the year. The way the FAST is being rolled out this year is that they take they're called progress monitoring assessments, or PMs, right? So they're going to take PM1. They already took PM1 at the start of the school year, right, to create baseline data. All right. And then they'll take PM2, which is in the middle of the year. I don't know the exact date for that yet, but PM2 will be in the middle of the year, which will create a level of measurement from the first test to the second test. And then the last progress monitoring assessment that they're going to take at the end of the year will be the actual formative assessment in which the school will be rated on. So, yeah, so what you're saying makes sense, but I guess it's not the way it was rolled out. Like, I guess technically could have demonstrated gains from the start of the school year, and hopefully kids do, but it won't be measured in a form of like a learning gain like it was last year. So the learning gains will be calculated next year based on the assessment data for this year compared to next year. Does that make sense? Does that make sense,
So learning
everybody?
gains is based on year-to-year growth?
Year-to-year
where-
annual growth. I'm sorry. So not from the start of the year to the end of the year, but from 21, 22 to 22, 23.
How far they've gone.
22, 23 to 23, 24. Wow.
So in-house, we'll be looking at the beginning to end.
Yeah.
Beginning, middle, end. But the
The
state's
state.
only gonna look at the end.
Right. So, and it is a shift too, because although iReady was a virtual assessment, right? It was a online diagnostic. It has just a different format, different feel to it. And I think if you talk to the teachers, they would explain to you too that that the FAST platform is definitely different, and it's just like I think some of the kids even on the first PM just struggle with the navigation a little bit, and it's just it's a big shift, right? So going from paper based to all computer based is something that we worked through. I mean, it was like the second week of school, and we had all kids taking computer based testing. It was very much like an FSA style environment, and it was a lot of stress on everybody.
So is third grade going to be doing this too?
Third grade will. Yep. So third grade will take fast for math and for reading. So third grade doesn't have a writing component. Writing comes into it in fourth and fifth grade. So yeah, the interesting part about it, third grade historically, and a lot of teachers know this, but third grade historically would take the reading assessment late in March.
Very
March,
early April.
early April.
Yeah, but it was paper based because third grade's a big year. It's mandatory retention. So according to the state, so they would have to ship those tests out, and then we would wait until the very end of the school year, literally within a couple days at the end of the school year to get that data back. Because any kid who doesn't demonstrate 2 or better on a 5-point scale, if they score a level 1, then they have to show an alternate form of good cause to move on to fourth grade. So the 5-point scale is going to stay, right? So from my understanding is that it's a 1 being the lowest and then a 5 being the highest. Okay. So just so everybody knows, like I said, science isn't changing. I think it's important that everybody knows and understands that science still will be paper-based. Again, that is kind of our one constant. That all assessments will be computer-based outside of that. We're still using iReady, so we haven't forgotten iReady. We're still using that as another data point to support students. It does help us kind of identify specific deficiencies. It's a little more detailed than some of the reports that we're able to pull from the state platform based on FAST. But your kids still can use iReady at home. They can still use, trying to get those 45 minutes in math and reading. I think that's super beneficial. Anybody else have any questions about testing? Did I miss anything? If anybody has anything for the good of the group, Mac, did I miss anything?
Will you be evaluating student digression during the summer? Because you'll be doing the FAST test at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the year. So will there be any evaluation there?
So-
Not at a state level, but.
Do you mean if kids regress from the start of the year to the end of the year? So from the first.
the end of the year to the start of the year.
Yeah, so that is something that we measure. Absolutely, that's something that we take into consideration. So when we group kids, right, and we create classes, that's something that we look at. We take a look at end of the year diagnostics. So in the past, we would use end of the year data from iReady because the FSA data just wasn't ready yet. We don't get that until the summer. That's a really good question. The nice thing about the FAST platform is that it's they're saying we're going to get the data within 48 hours. Sometimes it populates instantly, right? So it's a really cool tool for the fact that we don't have to wait for weeks or months to get student data. Now we're going to get it right away. It'll help us make more more data informed decisions as we're like creating classes for the upcoming school year. But absolutely. So from the end of the year diagnostic, the PM3, the actual state assessment, to the first PM next year, that's absolutely something that we could take a look at, because those scale scores, like there's a conversion chart for the scale scores to understand that like how a kid does at the end of third grade, where they should be performing at the start of fourth grade. Yeah, so absolutely, that's a great point.
We do have a question from online.
Yeah.
From a third grade parent, they want to know, are we going to be given any materials to practice at home to help prepare them for the test, or just continue with iReady at home assignments from the teachers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, listen, one would be like trust that the teachers are preparing the students through daily coursework, right? And ensuring that they're engaged in the lessons, and that the parents are communicating with the teachers, that if there are things like if they noted like certain deficiencies, whether it be reading or, listen, third grade is a good example. Like in third grade, we start to see kids who really read fluently, and as they transition from reading fluently to reading with comprehension, right? And processing understanding. So, man, the two biggest things for third grade is just reading, whether it be informational text or, like fiction versus nonfiction. And then the other part for third grade, and this is the greatest efficiency, and if you guys can echo this throughout the community, third, fourth, and fifth grade, is like the single digit multiplication facts, like old school times tables, right? Like this is the stuff that, man, our kids still struggle with. And it's not just our kids. Like I've worked at 3 elementaries now, and this is a district-wide, probably nationwide issue, right? Is that kids struggle with division and the standard algorithm, because they don't know their single digit multiplication. They don't know their multiples, right? They struggle in third, fourth, and fifth grade if they can't. It takes them so much longer. Now, the cool part about the new standards, the best standards, and Mr. Mack is our math coach, and we've had 100 conversations about this as we've been in classrooms, is it presents kids with multiple ways to solve one problem, right? It teaches them 3 or 4 different ways to solve it. And then the idea is that like they pick the one that is best for them. So the way, because our, would process an answer might be different than the way I process it, but as long as we were both taught those models, then we can process them however we want. But yeah, multiplication facts, man. I tell you, flashcards, old school flashcards. Reflex Math has math fluency on there, but reading and math fluency. So,
Can I add on to that real quick?
yeah, please.
I would also say, like, to parents is, keep in touch with your child's teacher, because, the district does a phenomenal job of putting out resources for review, for assessments in all subject areas, math, science, ELA. So, as the year goes on, stay in touch with your child's teacher through Dojo, however you usually communicate with them. See if any of these review resources come out toward the end of the year that can be sent home to help supplement some of that. If you're interested in giving your child some extra practice, because that stuff is always available. And the one thing that we've seen a lot this year is that, there is just an abundance of resources available. So if you're very interested in that, reach out to your child's teacher. There's definitely more than enough resources and information to go around that can help kind of supplement some of that classroom instruction.
Yeah, and something that the community should know, and I've been talking for way longer than I anticipated, but man, something the community should know is that last year, kindergarten, first and second grade, they were the first ones to see the best standards, and they only saw an ELA. So this year, K through 5 are seeing new standards in math, and then third, fourth, and fifth grade are seeing new standards in ELA. So it's a huge shift. It's definitely a different approach to, like, I think that math is probably one of the biggest ones, is just the way we approach, like, problems, the way we approach each situation. So, teachers may have questions too. We've had a lot of conversations, Mr. Mack, and we have our weekly or monthly professional learning communities where the teachers sit down and we go through things that are going on in the classroom and how to approach certain situations. So, ask the questions to those teachers, and the teachers are great, man. Our teachers are phenomenal. So.
And to tag on with Mr. Mack's comment about being in touch with your classroom teacher, make sure that you're scheduling those parent conferences as conference week is approaching. That is a great way to see where, with the new standards coming in, where your navigator's deficiencies may or may not be, or finding some resources with that classroom teacher. So definitely make sure you are following up with your classroom teacher about getting those conferences scheduled and on the books to double check on their progress, especially as the 9 weeks is wrapping up.
Isn't conference week the week of the 17th?
Next week, the week after?
Next week already?
Week after.
Yeah, the week of the 17th is going to be fall academic conferences. So
Yeah.
And it's so parents, teachers will be reaching out to you to schedule. I don't know, how long do you guys usually spend with them? Brew, how long do you usually spend with a parent?
Well,
Like 20, 30 minutes?
I like to schedule them for 15-minute blocks.
Okay,
to
perfect.
Give myself some leeway because sometimes conversations
Yeah.
run a little bit longer. So I would schedule between 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah. And I would challenge the parents to challenge the teachers, right? Like ask those tough questions because they're equipped. They're equipped to talk about the students from a data perspective and just from like their classroom presence. So.
And then another question from online. What about tutoring? Is that going to be offered again this year if the students need it?
That's a great question. So whether they need it or not. So we have a small budget for tutoring, and it's going to be after school. And we're going to have a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade section of tutoring. We're going to have a math focus initially, and then a reading focus. And then at the very end in the spring before testing starts, we're going to do a blend of math and reading. We had planned to have our after school program started up with the 2nd quarter rolling out next week. But due to, the storm last week, it kind of derailed our plans a little bit. So that's something we're working on this week. So probably push back another week, but it's not going to be, unfortunately, just based on the resources, it's not going to be open to everyone, right? It's going to be, we're going to identify specific students who are at risk in a particular area, and we're going to invite them. So.
And then normally in years past, there's been a tutoring list that's been posted. We can work towards getting that tutoring list posted on the Class Dojo of faculty members here at Endeavor that offer outside private tutoring. So we can get that list online for all those families if they would like their child to have access to tutoring, even if they're not eligible for the one at school, especially those younger grade levels for support.
Yeah. All right, a lot of good questions. Any other questions as it pertains to testing or last year's data? We have some crazy high goals this year. Our goal is to be 70% proficient in reading, 70% proficient in math, and 75% proficient in science. And I think that based on what we've built here in the last 2.25 years, I think that we're definitely headed on that trajectory. So should be a record year for sure. So, all right, Ms. Torres.
Continuing on with the agenda, we know that in the past, SAC has been in charge of updating the families and community members on the school improvement plan. So the goal is every meeting in the month to kind of touch base on what is happening with those school improvement plan goals so that you all can see what's happening in the classroom. So the first school improvement plan goal was pertaining to math, to show, as Mr. Knappen said earlier, it's a big focus on math this year with the new standards and increasing the learning loss from COVID in years past. So we wanted to showcase some of our teachers here at Endeavor, where you've got on the left-hand side, Ms. Rincon working with small groups in her kindergarten classroom. Studies have shown that being able to work in small groups with the teacher based on those different ability levels for the students allows for more guided practice and instruction in those deficiency areas. So Ms. Rincon, and along with
a lot of the staff members here at Endeavor have been focusing on small group work in their classroom to make sure students are learning and showing growth. On the right-hand side, we can see that third grade, we've got Miss Garcia's class up there, but all of third grade is utilizing interactive notebooks to help students focus on their learning target in the classroom. In those notebooks includes what their learning goal is, so students can always reference back and check and see how they individually feel, how they are doing and growing as they move forward. Once again, goal 1 is specifically pertaining to math. And then goal number 2 is utilizing for the faculty members to utilize those professional learning communities or PLCs, where teachers meet once a week based on with one of the coaches, and it's an alternating cycle, whether they're meeting to discuss MTSS, math, ELA, or our reading and writing focus, or science. So in the picture, we have Ms. Bletchinger, our reading interventionist, meeting with the second grade team before school with the MTSS process. And it wasn't just second grade. There were all grade levels had met and had the same conversation, but snapping photos is, when we can get them, we want to make sure we can showcase them. So we are working on those PLCs with goals and targeted strategies for the students, especially working with these new standards. And then number 3 was about culture and environment, integrating and monitoring resources, because we do want to create an awesome school environment for the students. We want to create a loving place where they enjoy coming to school. So we do have some pictures in here where we've got 4th grade teacher, Miss Pabone, she on the left-hand side, she's reading aloud with different inflections of the author's tone. Because, reading to students is not, we want them reading, but also sometimes they need that, experience with their teachers, trying to get the different point of views in the story, and especially really understanding that author's tone. Sometimes the teachers need to instill that in the students. So her 4th grade class was very much enjoying that. And on the right-hand side, we have Coach Brands, who is leading the way with the 5th grade patrols, setting that loving and fun environment. He holds them to a very high expectation as leaders in the school, because these patrols are setting the examples for all the navigators here at school, what they want to strive to be like. So he has morning meetings with them on Friday mornings. So it's him meeting with the students, getting them hyped up for the week, and just staying positive, which is what a lot of teachers are doing here at school, just staying very positive with the students, pushing forward, because we know we are working through those new standards, and they're doing a great job. Do we have any questions on the follow-up of how we're implementing the school improvement plan in classrooms? All right. And as always, we love to showcase community involvement in school-wide events. September 15th was open house. So we do have Mr. Nappins there posing with Navi. Thank you, PTA, for the awesome Navigator mascot costume that we have here. And of course, Mr. Nappins had to be one of the first to take a picture with our awesome Navi. In addition, we've celebrated some of our teachers who are expecting little future navigators, Miss Jones, Nurse Cat, and even Mr. Mack having his own baby. All right, his wife is. But we are excited, and we're very excited for them as they prepare for their growing families.
2 have already grown.
2 have already grown. Yes. Nurse Cat and Miss Jones did have their babies. Yay! Congratulations. And then, of course, we do have PTA staying very active and involved here at Endeavor. From, right here, I know it's the first week of October, but already PTA has had a food drive because the food bank was running low. So they stepped in for community outreach, and congratulations to Miss Johnson's kindergarten class for bringing in the most donations. They held the first spirit night of the year at Gators Dockside. So thank you, everybody, for being able to come out. If you've been on Class Dojo, you were able to see quite the large turnout that we had for Grandparents' Day and pastries with grandparents. Paint the Ceiling Night, we know, has been delayed because of the hurricane, but it is still coming back, so please have no fear. It is coming, especially for those who registered for it. Currently, they have the Papa John's 50 Nifty fundraiser cards for sale going on. I will say I personally have taken advantage of that card, 50% off your pizzas at Papa John's for the year. Pretty great, and it's a great little investment. Later this month is going to be the Orlando Magic Spirit Night. So we'd love to see our Navigators represented there at the game. And at the end of the month, there'll be Trunk or Treat, a new event this year that PTA is very excited to debut, along with the annual traditional fall festival taking place next month, which I know PTA has already posted on Class Dojo. If you're interested in volunteering, they would love some help because it is a large school-wide and even now community event because so many Navigators have been a part of it through the years and are coming back to visit their teachers and even see their siblings enjoying it. But our PTA president, Lauren Hutchinson, is here. Anything else you would like to tag on with it?
You pretty much nailed it all.
Nailed it? Awesome. Fantastic. But once again, a lot of these events only are able to happen and take place by being a PTA member. They have been continuously posting online. If you want to be a member of PTA, please go on to that member hub and join. It is a great time. There's great spirit wear on there. And if this is what they were able to accomplish in just the first 9 weeks, let's see what else they can do the rest of the year. So please, let's join our awesome endeavor PTA. Up next, it's a pretty busy month leading up into November and our second 9 weeks. We did just have picture day yesterday. The end of the 9 weeks takes place tomorrow with no school on Friday. I'm going to say that again. There's no school this Friday. It was already scheduled. Even if there are makeup days for the hurricane, this Friday will be no school regardless. So just so everybody knows that. And then we're getting very busy into field trips. Over half the school will be on a field trip on Tuesday, whether it's the 3rd, 4th, or 5th graders attending the orchestra field trip or kindergarten and our ESE students go into Southern Hills Farm. And just something we really want to highlight before moving on is that next Wednesday, October 12th, is a no early release day. We are not dismissing students at 2:00 p.m. The high schools are taking the in-school SAT, so school will be like a normal school day. We will be releasing students at 3:00 instead of 2:00. And one more big thing we want to chat about is the fall book fair taking place beginning on October 31st and running through the week. I know Ms. Quadrado has worked very hard. She's definitely going to need some volunteers. So if you can be additions approved and want to come in and help students pick out books, that would be fantastic. So busy month coming up. And then we're going to hold right here for a moment for any questions or comments. We're always going to reserve the end block of time kind of as an open forum to field any questions. So anybody online, if you have any questions, anybody in the room moving forward.
And I'll stick around if you guys just want to chit chat afterwards. But appreciate Mr. Bench coming in. Lauren, appreciate you guys coming in. I know it's been an interesting couple weeks here. So appreciate you guys. So we'll get back on track at the end of this month with our regularly scheduled SAC meeting. So
Which is going to be Wednesday, October 26th.
Perfect.
So in just a couple of weeks. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Ready.
So this was